crystalline silica, safety training, training elements, silica workplace hazards, health hazards, silica exposure controls, Occupational Safety and Health Administration OSHA requirements. Silica workplace hazards. Crystalline silica is found abundantly in nature and in industry. Silica is a mineral found in many materials, such as stone, rock, concrete, brick, block, and mortar. Silica workplace hazards. Common uses include glassmaking, sandblasting, foundries, pottery manufacturing, granite countertop fabrication, various construction jobs including tuck pointing and road building. Silica is one of the components of Portland cement. So if you see concrete, you will see silica. Silica workplace hazards. Industrial processes on these materials can cause workers to be exposed to small silica dust particles. These include cutting, sawing, grinding, sanding, crushing, and drilling. Health hazards. The small silica dust particles are often called respirable crystalline silica. They are small enough to travel into the worker's lungs. These particles are at least 100 times smaller than ordinary sand. Health hazards. Factors that determine if exposure is hazardous. Route of exposure. Contact, ingestion, inhalation. Toxicity. How much substance is needed to cause harm. Dose and duration. Amount of substance entering body. Amount of time you are exposed. Interaction. Being exposed to other substances at the same time can lead to negative interactions, i.e. smoking. Individual characteristics, age, gender, diet, use of medication. Health hazards. Once respirable crystalline silica reaches the worker's lungs, it can cause silicosis, an incurable lung disease that can lead to disability and death, lung cancer, COPD, chronic obstruction pulmonary disease, and kidney disease. Health hazards. Silica causes silicosis, a disease where scar tissue develops in the lungs and reduces the ability to get oxygen from air. There are 3 kinds of silicosis based on the amount of exposure and the length of time of the exposure. Chronic usually develops after 10 or more years of exposure and is the most common type. Accelerated develops between 5 and 10 years of moderate exposure. Acute develops within weeks up to 5 years of exposure to mass doses. Silica exposure controls. The hazards related to crystalline silica can be controlled using a variety of techniques. The types of controls include elimination, substitution, engineering, administrative controls, and PPE, personal protective equipment. Silica exposures control. So we have a hierarchy of controls. At the top is elimination, physically remove the hazard. It goes in it's a sliding scale from most effective to least. Substitution, replace the hazard. Engineering controls, isolate people from the hazard. Administrative controls, change the way people work. And PPE, personal protective equipment, protect the worker with personal protective equipment. And that's the least effective in it, and it works its way down. Engineering control methods, wet methods. Apply water where silica dust is created. So this is a concrete cutting machine where the water is put on there to reduce the dust and silica exposure. Engineering control methods continued. Local exhaust ventilation removes silica dust at or near the point where the dust is made. So there's a HEPA system hooked up to the saw, and it pulls all of the dust into the HEPA and eliminates or controls the silica exposure. Engineering control methods: enclosures isolate the work process or the worker. So sandblast machine, all enclosed, keeping the exposure away from the employee. Administrative control methods: housekeeping, work schedules and job rotation, reduces the amount of time a person is exposed to the hazard. Inspection and job hazard analysis. Personal protective equipment, PPE. PPE required varies based on the level of exposure at work. The PPE can include from low protection to high: half face respirator, full face respirator, PAPR, powered air purifying respirator. Additional PPE that can be used to prevent exposure via contact through skin includes gloves and coveralls. OSHA requirements. Employer requirements: determine the amount of silica that workers are exposed to. The action level equals 25 averaged over 8-hour a day period, and then that's from the action level OSHA. Provide worker protection when respirable crystalline silica exposure is above the permissible exposure limit, and that permissible exposure limit is below 50 averaged over 8-hour period. OSHA requirements continued. Employer requirements: limit access to areas where respirable crystalline silica. Use dust control or safer work methods. Provide respirators when other controls cannot limit exposure. Provide a written exposure control plan. Restrict housekeeping practices that expose workers to silica. Offer medical exams, chest x-rays, and lung function tests every 3 years to workers exposed at or above the action level for 30 plus days per year. Train workers on silica exposure. Keep records of exposure and medical exams. OSHA requirements continued. Employees' role: use equipment and controls properly. Be aware. Participate in training, exposure monitoring, and screening programs. Don't bring dust home. Don't eat, drink, smoke, or apply cosmetics while near silica dust. Wash hands and face outside of dusty areas. This ends the silica dust exposure training program.